lately I've been in this vibe where I'm just like tired of my clothes.
Yeah.
I feel like everything I have, it's like so slutty, and it's just and it just felt like I was like, oh, like I don't feel good anymore. Like sometimes I'll put on these outfits that are so like chic and classy, and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so good and I feel so sexy in these.
Yeah.
And I see other people dressing in a way where, I don't know, like I have some friends where they dress where they're just like, they're not constantly like trying to show off. Not saying that I try to show off my body, but like I always feel like what I need to wear, it needs to be like form fitting and it needs to be like flattering. And like sometimes I see my friends wearing things that are not necessarily flattering. They're just like nice. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could pull that off because I feel like I always need to like flatter my body all the time. And I know this is going to come off weird, but like sometimes I'm just like, I want to just like dress like chic and cool and classy. And then I'm like,
Monica's turning into a woman.
Into it. I know. I'm like, is this what happens when you get older? But then
she's
I
in a
think
tight
about
Miami
it.
green dress.
Literally tits out, legs out, everything out. Crazy. Chemical X.
Hey guys, and welcome back to the Chemical X podcast. I'm your host, Alessia, with the mostest.
I'm Veronica, and as usual, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below, and leave us 5 stars on all audio platforms. So today we're on a green vibe, green with envy.
Green for money.
Green for money, manifestation. Oh, wait, whoa. We don't manifest on this podcast if you listen to last week's.
Whoa. What did yours say? Yeah,
sorry.
We're going to switch that right now.
So we're back here again, and there's a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while, and I feel like it's the perfect time.
Jesus, no pressure.
No pressure. Because it's like summer now. You know, if Montreal wants to cooperate and stop making cold days, but like it's summer. People are going on vacation. We're traveling to different places. We're seeing different vibes.
That's so fun. You have such a fun life.
Such a sick
Where are you going this summer? I want to go.
So I thought it was the perfect time to talk about choosing a path in life, and you know,
we
just
talk about that last episode. We gotta go back there.
Well, listen, you said there's only one path. You didn't say you could choose. Actually, so I don't even know if this.
No,
applies.
I said you could choose 3 million, but just no.
The one that you choose is the one that was painted out for you. But this is all because I saw this post, and it's something that I've always thought about. And it's something that's it resonates with me because I always think this, okay? So basically the post says, I heard a girl saying, how are you supposed to just pick one life? There are so many lies out there to choose from. Corporate New York girl, move to Indonesia and live by the beach girl, van life girl, settle down and start a family girl, move to Paris and learn French girl. How are you supposed to choose from all these different options when our time on this planet is insanely limited?
Hold on. What's that saying that Drake says? No, or Kanye? If you do it once, then once is enough. Wait, there's like a song. Like if you do it once is enough.
I don't know, but okay.
Like if you live life to the full. Fuck.
If you live life to the fullest, then once is enough. Kind of.
Okay,
vibe.
No, but there's a song. I don't know why it's not coming.
I don't know the lyrics, but I know what you're saying.
Okay.
Thanks,
guys. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. There's the episode.
But I just totally agree with this post because I find like I'm always stuck in this, like, you know, I'm doing something and then I'm like, I feel like I'm stuck in this life and I'm like confined to this life. And then I'm like, okay, well, what if I would just move away? Like, how different would my life be? And like, how do you choose? And, you know, I've always said like I wanted to do an internship in Paris, or I wanted to move to New York, or I wanted to move to LA. And like, I've always said all these things. And I think as you get older, it gets scary because you feel like you haven't done the things that you said you were going to do. And even though you're not unhappy with your life, you kind of start to like freak out and you're like, which life would have been the best one and all that stuff, you know? And I feel like you just start, I don't know, I feel like the older I get, the more I'm like, it trips me out. But even when I was younger, I would trip out about it. It's just like every time I think about it, I'm like, but like, I feel like when you're happy in your place, you think about it less. But it's still like,
do you still think about it?
Less. But I think every once in a while I'll see something like that and I'll just go like, wow, like putting myself in every one of those scenarios, it's so true. It's like, you know, I could have been the girl that went to college and got married, like, and stayed in my hometown and had a baby young and like, Honestly,
Sell me, Veronica. Sell me. You're not selling me.
But it's just like, you could have moved to Europe and like lived
you're
in,
selling me.
traveled to European cities, or like moved by the beach and been the beach girl. And like, there's so many options. And I feel like everyone is just like, how do you choose?
Hold on. There's so many options, and you are Canadian.
That's true. That's basically true.
So yeah,
but anything is possible.
Everything is possible. That's
Anything
true.
is possible.
That's true.
If you wanted to move to Indonesia, you could.
Yes.
And that's the scary thing, is I feel like sometimes we feel like choosing one life cancels out the other ones,
That's so true.
Like, it feels like I'm choosing this, therefore I could never be the beach girl, I could never be the city girl, but we don't realize like how long our life actually is. And it's like, you never know. And I know it's gonna sound stupid, but it's like, you could be 50 and decide like, I want to like live on a house by the beach, and like you could do that at that time. So, but it's obviously hard to see that now. You just feel like you're stuck in this life forever.
Yeah, I think it's hard to see it when you're in it, and it's also hard to see it when you're doing it. I think both times. You're always going to be like,
what if?
It really depends your outlook on life. Like, you can look at it as like, oh, wow, like I'm going and I'm trying out living in New York, for example. But then it's like, yeah, it'll creep up on you and be like, okay, well, like, do you need to go through the experience of doing New York? And then you're like, oh, I don't like this fast-paced environment. Like, do I want to be on a beach? Sometimes it's like the things you do that'll lead you to why you want to switch up what you're doing.
Guys, nothing says summer like wearing a nice little summer dress and stacking on jewelry. I love having like multiple necklaces, especially in the summer, like even with bikinis and stuff. And my favorite thing is that the Every Jewels jewelry doesn't tarnish. So you can actually wear it at the beach, or wear it in the pool, which I love because I just think it's so cute to have jewelry on while wearing like a bikini or like a cute little summer outfit. So add that to your list of things to buy for this summer vacation.
And if you're going to Europe, because that's apparently where I'm going right now, or a vineyard or anywhere that's just vibes, you want to be stacked up, looking good, and getting vino in that system. So guys, use our discount code ChemicalX at checkout to receive 20% off your entire order. It is a no-brainer to add any kind of jewelry to your wardrobe.
And I think like the biggest lesson I ever learned was moving to Australia, because I always had that mindset, like, what life do I choose, la la la. And moving to Australia, like, I had a little bit of like that beach life type of girl where, I lived in an apartment by the beach. I used to walk barefoot. I used to do my groceries barefoot. I used to just chill on the beach. Yeah, because everyone was barefoot. Like,
so you've been making fun of me for wanting to be barefoot my entire life, and now you went to live my dream? I'm sorry.
But it's just like, I lived that life, and at the time I was like, this is not really for me. Like, I loved it and I had fun, but I still wanted something else. And I think it's funny because sometimes I catch myself thinking like, oh wow, like remembering the memories and remembering the good stuff, but then I always have to remind myself, like, at the time, like, I actually wasn't like I wasn't like my happiest, because I don't think that I'm a beach girl deep down. As much as that life looks appealing to me, I actually just like accept that I don't think I'm a beach girl because I'm too fast paced, and I like to be in the city, and I like when there's like a lot of things going on. So I think sometimes you even just need to be realistic about it. It's like, do I even want this? And sometimes you think you do until you do them and you're like, oh wait, maybe this actually isn't for me.
Yeah. So I think the lesson here is to try it out and see what you actually like.
Or just like, if you can't try it out and you're like burdened with like, because obviously I haven't done every life that I wanted to live. I think it's just thinking about it like realistically, like, okay, if I would, let's say, move to Paris and become that Paris girl, okay, I would have to give up everything that I have now in my life. And like what I have now in my job is like my biggest like achievement. And it's like, I love it so much. I cherish it so much. So would I be willing to give this up for living in Paris? No. You get it? So it's like, sometimes you just need to be realistic about what would I have to give up, and is it worth whatever I think is going to happen there?
I think it also depends like where you are in your life. Like,
yeah.
It depends what's going on, you know?
Absolutely.
Like, probably Australia, you would be fucking down to go to Paris afterwards, I think it's really where you are, what you have going on, I find myself a little bit more in the other lane. I'm like, okay, I am 27, single. I'm making money now. I know what I'm doing. I'm like a lot happier career-wise. I'm like, okay, great. I always talk about how I hate being Canadian and how I want to live somewhere else. But I'm like, Alette, you do still have the 6 months to live anywhere else. So
Yeah.
before you're there, like, I hate Canada and like, I want to live in New York and all this stuff. It's like, well, go then. You have the option. You have the time. Go. Looking at it from like a stance of like, you just have to put yourself in the situation where you're like, okay, great. My biggest roadblock now is that I'm still living at home with my fam, and I'm at a stage now where like I could move out. All my friends are kind of like moving out. Whoever isn't is probably thinking about it. But now I'm like at a stage where I'm like, yeah, I want my space. I want kind of like my freedom. But then I'm also like, okay, Ale, you're not moved out yet, and you will not be happy if you move out now. And like then you have this burden of like this expense, but meanwhile you're not happy being here right now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so I gotta make a plan and I gotta follow through with it, where I'm gonna do everything I want to do before I come back here. And like if this is my path and this is where I'm gonna like settle down and get my apartment, then I want to do these things before.
Yeah.
So like it would just make sense to do it now. So it also depends like where you are in your life. Now I'm like, okay, great. I want to go do 2 months in New York. Like I'm already starting to look. I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I said it. I'm gonna do it. And then from there, who knows? Maybe I'll go do 2 months in LA. Like I want to figure it out. You're like, the podcast, what's going on there? We'll figure it out. But what I'm trying to say is we always talk about like the negative of like what we can do instead of figuring out like, oh wait, like what if I go to New York and I live there for 2 months and then realize I don't want to be there?
Yeah.
Like how do I know if I haven't even done it? Like I always go
Exactly.
for like weekends. No, what would it be like to put myself in a state where like I am working and I'm there? So that's just kind of the thing. So now I'm like, I'm going to do that and I'm going to see like, is that really what I want? I think I'm a New York girl, but then who knows when you're living there, is it different?
It's very different for sure.
So I think a lot of the times we have this idea of what we want, but we don't really know what is. So sometimes we just have to do it in order to put our mind at rest and be like, peace of mind. Like I'm happy now coming back and getting
Knowing
my
I
apartment,
tried.
knowing I tried, knowing that, you know what, Montreal is not that bad after all. Or, you know, realizing that, wow, this is where I'm meant to be. Now figure out the next plan. How are you gonna, you know,
make that happen.
how are you gonna make that happen for yourself? So I think
Yeah.
a lot of the times we like put pressure on like, but how are we gonna do it? It's like, baby girl, baby steps.
And there's always a way too. I mean, I think people get so stuck in this, like, I can't do it. Like, look, realistically, even if you had an apartment.
Even if I had an apartment, I would just sublease it, get somebody
There's
to
so
be-
many things you could do, you know?
Yeah.
Like, there's always a way that you can achieve these things if you feel like it's something I want to do. Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you have this drive in you to do something more, you'll never be like fully happy
Yeah.
without trying it. And it's not to say you're going to try, you're going to move there, you're going to love it, it's going to be amazing. But the sole fact that you actually achieve doing it will take away that what if for
Yeah.
you. And I think that's the biggest thing. I think that's the biggest fear for anyone is the what if.
Yes.
What if it would have changed my life? What if it would have been great? You know?
Yeah.
And there's so many ways that experiencing life has taken away those what ifs from me. Like, for example, I always thought I was going to live in Paris. I was going to do an internship in Paris.
Yeah.
I visited Paris, didn't even like Paris. I was like, I don't like this at all. Thank God I never took the leap to actually do an internship here because I actually don't like this. And that like, boom, took away my want and desire
Yeah.
to ever live there.
I think
right?
a lot of the times our wants and needs are a bit like situationships. Like we think it's what we want. We think it's the best thing for us. And then we go through with it and then we realize like it's just not going to work or we're not on the same page. You know,
Yeah.
like it's just sometimes it's that too, you know, what we think and what we want and what is completely different. And it's just peace of mind trying it out and being like, okay, like this is for me, this isn't. But once you get clear on like your vision and what you want, then it's easier to be like, but then again, it's like, wait, but then, okay, you do New York. And then you're like, well, I don't want to just be a New York girl.
Yeah, but those things like change. Like, for example,
Yeah.
like going to Australia, sometimes even though you just do one place, it almost satisfies that need of like, what if there's something more? I think just experiencing something else, something different makes you feel like, okay, I did something. And I know that, like, for example, when I was in Australia at the beginning of so I had a 1-year working holiday visa, which is basically a visa that you can get, which allows you to work and travel for 1 year. And at the beginning of the year, I was first of all convinced I was only going to stay 6 months. That didn't happen. And throughout the year, I had the option to do 3 months of farm work in order to get a 2nd-year visa. But I chose not to do it because at the time, I did not want to stay another year because I was like, I love this. I had a great time, but I don't think that this is the place for me.
You experienced what you had to
I
experience.
experienced what I had to experience. And I was like, I don't think that I, need to stay here another year. It just didn't seem like it was in the cards for me. And by the end of the year, I was like, I regret so much not doing those 3 months because now I want to stay here. Now I feel like I need to stay here. I tried to look into different options of how I could stay longer. It didn't end up happening, and I ended up coming home. But it's just to say, like, sometimes you think you want something and then it changes, and then now I'm back and I'm like, okay, I could see how coming back had to happen so that like I could achieve all that I've achieved now.
Yeah.
But then every once in a while I still think like, what would my life be had I stayed? Where would I be now?
Last episode, here we go.
But it's just, and those are the thoughts that I think anyone like has and anyone struggles with. But I think what makes me like keeps me on track is that like I'm happy doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And like it brings me a lot of happiness. So I don't feel like I'm missing out. I think it would feel a lot worse if I was like not happy. Then I would be like, oh my God, I gave up like the happiest time of my life. You know what I mean? But instead, I'm like happy with what I have and I'm excited to try new things in the future. Whereas I feel like I don't really need to go back to Australia. I kind of did that. I experienced the beach life. I experienced living in a different city.
Would you say you need to experience things to be able to put things to rest or to pull through on what it is you really want?
Yes and no, but I do believe that if trying living in a different place is something you want to do, it doesn't matter where you go. I think you just need to do it. Mm-hmm. And I think
more
doing
about
it
the
once,
place. It's just about being able to like do it almost.
And I think just doing it once will almost satisfy you from those other worries of like, what if I was this girl? What if I was that girl? Because when you live somewhere else, you have the ability to be anybody you want to be. And I think only then you like really genuinely choose who it is you want to be. And so you have less of like a second, like you're less second guessing, who am I? Is this who I really want to be? Because you've chosen that person, right? You've chosen, like I had the option to be the beach girl, didn't really like it. I was the city girl. I did this. I did these things and I fell into myself, who I truly was.
Yeah.
So I think once you give yourself just that one option to do that, you realize, okay, this is who I really am,
Yeah.
And then those other dreams of like being the van girl and starting a family, like you're like, no, but those things don't fit because I know who I truly am.
Yeah.
So I think just even doing it once helps so much clarity. And like, I'm always the first person to tell everyone like, go, like leave, like you could do this, you could go here, you could do that. Because as being someone who did it, I'm like, I know how much it like changed my life and shaped me just as a person and helped me understand like who I am and helped me look less of like what it could be. Like I feel like I'm much happier with my life rather than always
because you
thinking
took
about
that leap of faith.
Yeah, I let myself just be anyone I wanted to be and like try things out for myself. And I think just having that confidence of like I am who I am just makes you feel happier in anything you're doing,
Yeah, I think it's always like you'll look at someone else and you might see it as like the grass is greener, or you see it as like, oh my God, like that works so well for you, but I really don't see that for myself, It's tough because like when you're younger, I feel like I don't think you're really like worried about like, oh, you want the white picket fence and you want like I mean, look, some people will want that at a young age. I don't know.
I think something I read that I thought was really like spot on is a quote that said, just because it could be different doesn't mean it would have been better. And I think that's so on point because it's like we always assume that because something is different that it must be better. That like, oh my God, living my life in, let's say, Australia must have been better than it is here because it's different. But in reality, having experienced it, I know that yes, there was probably some things about it that were way better and were amazing for sure. But it just doesn't mean that just because it's different that it technically would have been better. I could have lived somewhere else and not liked it. And it would have been different, but it doesn't necessarily mean that I would have liked it or that it would have been better. And I think that's important to think about these things is just because we could be different people, because we could have lived different lives, doesn't mean that they're necessarily better lives or would make us happier than we are now.
1000%.
And I think that's the biggest fear is people are so afraid of choosing a life that they'll be less happy in, And I think it's just important to recognize that whatever you choose, you could be happy in. And it doesn't mean because there's other options that those ones are going to make you happier.
Yeah. Do you think social media plays a big role in that?
For sure.
Like feeling like we're just like never we can never be happy where we are because there's always somebody doing something better, funner.
You know how it's like now no one can settle because they always feel like there's like someone better out there. Like there's like a different option out there. There's so many options. I feel like the same thing comes with life. You see everyone living their life. You know, like I see the girlies like, and I know you're like, you're going to be like, what the fuck? So I brought up kids before, but it's like, I see these girls like having babies and like being these like moms. And like, sometimes I catch myself in it like, wow, like I want to be a mom. And like, oh my God, imagine if I would have been the young mom, you know? And like some of our friends are starting to have kids. So it's like, you get wrapped up in the like, oh my God, like all the bliss. But then I go like, I have to like be realistic, you know? And then in other things, you know, I see my friends like traveling the world and backpacking. And I'm like, imagine I was still doing that. And it's like, sometimes you have to bring yourself back and be like, what is it do I really want?
But I think also with everything you do comes a cost. Like if you're the early mom, then chances are you probably didn't experience life to the fullest, or you didn't have as many experiences. That's not always the case. But for the most part, whatever you choose, you're losing in something else, or not losing, or it's just like not the right timing. So I think like that's another thing. Don't follow anyone else's timeline other than yours. Like one of my best friends has a baby, you know, and it's like, not to say that I'm like there holding her baby and it's like, I don't even have a partner. And it's like, well, like you're 27, like, you know, but it's like everyone's timeline's completely different. Like she's going to be 36 and be like, I want to go here, 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 and here. Like, it's like everyone's timeline is completely different, how they choose to do things. And I totally agree with what you're saying. Like, doesn't mean because you're here that wherever else you would be is better. I think we also have to like kind of just be happy where we are and work towards where we want to go. But it doesn't mean because we're like somewhere that it's like you're gonna be happier somewhere else.
I think the biggest help for me was when I realized that I could do something and it was my choice not to do it. I think that a lot of people feel so like so much worse because they feel like the decision is out of their control. They feel like they can't go move to that country. Like they can't leave because they have an apartment, because they have a dog, because they have a baby, because they have a relationship. They have all these like things holding them back, whatever it may be, financially. It could be so many things. And I think when you remove those factors and you actually tell yourself like, I could do this, do I want to or not? And I think that's when you can really come to the point where you're like, okay, I could be happy with where I am because I have the ability. If I wanted to, I could move to this place. If I wanted to, I could stay here. Like once you actually give yourself the choice, that's when you truly believe, that's when you truly realize what it is you want. Because I think there's so many times we want something just because we can't technically have it.
Yeah.
And once you realize that you can have anything that you want, and like if it's something that you really want to do, you absolutely can do it. Maybe you're not going to live there for the rest of your life, but if you want to go travel to a place, like you said, you wanted to live in New York. Okay, maybe you can't do that right now because you don't have a visa, but you're going to go live there for 2 months and experience it and see how it is and bring yourself as close as you can to that dream.
Yeah.
And I think like sometimes it's just about being like, I could actually do this. Do I still want to do it or not?
Exactly.
Like if I had the money, like make the money, put yourself in the position where you could have that. Then it's like, you'll really realize what it is that you just want versus like what you actually need to grow.
We're always
as a person.
fixated on the bigger picture, but it's like, what can you do with the cards you have at the moment? So whatever you want is possible. Like it's really just in your hands. And I just like that I'm at a stage where I'm kind of like, I don't know, like I'm going to go with the flow and I'm going to go live in New York for a bit. I want to maybe like Airbnb, live in LA for a bit. Like, I think I'm just gonna like float around a bit. I've never been somebody who's like has to be attached to wherever I go. Like, I don't need to be like, I can live out of a luggage. Like, you know, spontaneous me, I'm ready for the adventure. So I think I really need to do that for myself before I kind of like sit myself down and be like, Montreal's where I'm gonna get an apartment, or like, I really got to figure it out because I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's kind of where I'm at. I'm like, I'm so scared. My biggest fear is getting an apartment when I don't want to be here. And I'm at this limbo stage where I've been feeling like this for a while now. I'm like, what do I do? Like, I don't feel like this is really where I want to be at the moment. But also like, if I'm going to do it now, it just makes the most sense. So I'm just like, I'm putting a deadline now. I'm like, okay, you're going to do it. Like, let's go.
And it's true. That's what you have to do. Like, I feel like we always wait for like the right time or whatever. And like, sometimes you just have to make the right time for yourself and recognize that like there will always be like a worse
Yeah.
situation, you know, like there's only going to be more things, and like everything that you have that could be stopping you can be figured out, you know, and there'll only be more later, so it's like you might as well do it now. And
100%.
I just think like anybody thinking of doing something, thinking of changing their life, thinking of trying something new or experiencing something new, like do it. And sometimes even if it's just traveling, you know, like even if it's just like, okay, you want to live in Bali, why don't you start by traveling to Bali? See that life, experience it. See if it's something you really want to do. You know, the amount of times that I didn't even want to travel to a place, and then I got there and I was like, oh my God, I would live here.
Yeah.
You know, like for example, I never cared about London. I always thought it was like, what the fuck is there to see? And like, I don't care about London, never resonated with London, didn't really care. Visited London, I was like, I would live here in a heartbeat. I would love to live here. And it's just so funny. And the same thing could happen. Like I visited places that I thought I would love, like Paris, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't like this at all. So I think sometimes just like allowing yourself to travel and do those things. Or it's like, you know, if you're the girl that you want to experience like the van life, why don't you try doing a backpacking trip, you know, seeing what that's like to start. I feel like we always put these things where it's like, do everything or nothing. But sometimes you could just like do a little bit of it at a time and like have a taste for it.
Or just even do a little bit.
You know? And like, I just like, I'm such a firm believer that like, it's so in a life where you can be anything, like you need to be happy for what you are. You need to be grateful for where you are, but you also need to recognize that you could be anything. And like, if it's going to bother you so much, then go out and do it and be that person, you know? But I think it's just like the overwhelming of like, oh my God, there's so many options. We never take the time to really think about like, okay, well, I don't want to do this. Yeah. And I wouldn't want to do this because it would mean like leaving my family, and my family is something that's important to me. And sometimes it's about like categorizing like what you really want. Do you care about being close to your family? Do you care about your career? Do you care about, you know, like where are your priorities?
Yeah.
Because I can tell you right now, for me, it's like anything that would be like, you know, let's say I move back to Australia, I would have to give up everything that I worked for in my career. And that's not something that I'm willing to do. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's like, oh yeah, it seems so nice and fun to move back to Australia. I had an amazing time, but I'm not willing to give this up. So there's my decision, you know?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's just about like breaking it down and being like, do I even really want this? And am I willing to give up what it takes to do it? You know?
Yep.
But I just think like, for me, I just feel like you're never really like the person that you could be if you don't like experience more.
Yeah.
And like even just travel alone. Like I even think like traveling alone really helps you and just gets you out of your comfort zone and makes you like just feel like a different type of person than who you usually are.
Yeah.
You know? And I just feel like people grow so much when they like travel or move abroad or
I think it's also because like everyone you're meeting is meeting the you decide to be versus like the you that grew up with you, and like you feel like there's expectations or you feel like you have to be a certain way because that's always how you've been. So I think when you're elsewhere, it's like you choose what's your name, like who are you,
what's your name,
who do you want to be today, you know, like it's you're almost living like a double life in a way where like you can just choose who you want to be.
Absolutely.
So I think that's like so fun. And when you travel alone, you're really like, what the fuck do I want? You know?
Yeah.
So.
And who do I want to hang out with?
Yeah. You know what
Beach
though?
life, girl.
Like there's a lot in there, but like there's not that many that I'm like.
You read it on the post and you feel it.
For
it's
sure.
so easy to get sucked in and be like, what if I was the Paris girl? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Sometimes you really need to control your mind and be like, but I don't even want that.
Yeah.
You know, like it's so easy to get roped into like seeing someone living the beautiful life and like dreamy, romanticizing what it could be.
Yeah.
You don't even realize that there's so many hardships that come with it, you know? Like Australia wasn't like fucking rainbows and sunshine for me the whole time. There was struggles. There was so many struggles. There were so many things that weren't great that happened. But like
it shaped you into a beautiful woman,
into who I am. But it's like it's just like you just see the good stuff when you're just seeing it on social media and hearing about it. And like you feel this like weight of like, like I have to choose one, and like this is who I'm gonna be forever.
Yeah.
We know that when men travel, they always pack light. They're the best at looking at your overflowing suitcase and being like, what the fuck? What do you have to bring all this stuff for? But listen up, men. There should be one thing and one thing only that's coming on your little vacation and making it in that little suitcase, okay? And it's your Manscaped trimmer, okay? Because we want you smooth. We want you soft. We want you smelling good. We don't need those weird smelly balls after a day at the beach, okay? So keep yourself keep yourself clean.
They're already salty after the beach. Like,
Don't add some seaweed in there. Head on to Manscape because that's where you're going to get all the products you need to be clean, to be smelling good, and to leave your balls not feeling so sticky this summer.
because who doesn't like an ocean that's clean? If that wasn't enough, then we're also throwing in a 20% discount. So that's like the white sand that comes with. Like, you just have it all now. The white sand and the clean beach.
And free shipping.
My friend was telling me how she was in Spain with her boyfriend and her boyfriend's friends, and he was like capturing such good videos and pictures. And at the end of the night, she would look at his stories and she would be watching his stories and she'd be like, I was literally there and I know what it was like. And like, it was so different when I was opening his stories. I was like, she was like, his stories were so amazing. I felt like I wanted to go there and I was there.
Yeah.
So sometimes also like the way things like seem are not what they actually are.
Absolutely.
And like being aware of that, you know, like whenever you find yourself spiraling and being like, oh my God, fuck my life. Just remember a time like you see somebody where you were and you were like, it wasn't that great. Like, so you could like,
or
bring
even
yourself.
your own stuff. There's sometimes I watch my story and I go, this looks like the sickest day of my life. And then
Yeah.
I was there. I'm the one who experienced it. I'm like, but it wasn't that crazy. Or like I look back on trips. I'll often look back on trips and be like nostalgic. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
I miss it. And then like I really think about the trip. And I'm like, oh, I didn't really have that much fun though. And
Yeah.
like it wasn't actually that great. So
Yeah.
it's so crazy how even our own pictures.
That's
or
what
like,
I'm saying.
It's so crazy how you can so easily get like roped into it, you know?
Yeah.
But like I think I have commitment issues just in life.
Okay.
And so I think that also falls into like being afraid of like committing to like a life.
You want to just know that if at any point you want to go, you could.
Not even just like a relationship, just more so like
Well,
I'm
everything.
committing-
You obviously
yeah.
want to be with a partner where you feel like if at any point, like, babe, we go.
Yeah.
He's not like, no, I don't. I'm not on the same page with you.
Absolutely. But I think it's just about like I'm always scared of making decisions that I feel like shape my life and that are like so like serious. So it's like, you know, I feel like, oh my God, is this the girl I'm always gonna be? Like, am I always gonna like it's anything? It's like, am I always gonna be like entertainment girl? Like, what if I wanna do something else? Or like
Yeah.
this is the path that I've chosen. Like I always get these like overthinking moments, even though I'm really happy and like I love where I am, I'll always overthink it. And it's like a problem. It's definitely like a flaw of mine.
know.
And it's so hard. And I have to think about like all the reasons why I'm happy and all the
Yeah.
reasons why I don't even want to be in those places. But it's really hard. Like if you're like me and you're like just like a little bit of a commitment phobe where you're just like scared of not even missing out. I don't even know what I think it's just the commitment thing. I'm so afraid of being like stuck in one place and then looking back and being like I missed out or like I fucked up or I made the wrong decision. Like that's my biggest fear, I think. And I think like staying and working on something,
Interesting.
I'm so afraid to be like, oh my God, like I wish I hadn't done that or like I wish,
Yeah.
you know, whatever. I think it goes into
Our last episode.
no, I was gonna say, I think I've always been like that, even as a kid. Like growing up, I always had like a million different styles. I always like hung out with like a million different. Like if you look at like the course of like my teenage years, it's like I was like, you know, like the cutesy girl with like the cutesy outfits, and then after like I became like the fucking like a hippie girl with like the hippie outfits and the hippie hair, and then I was like the punk girl, then I was like the emo girl, and then I was the rave girl, and then I was the
Yeah.
fashion girl. Like I did all these things and I feel like that shaped me, but it also made me like scared to choose one because it's like I've always been changing, I've
Yeah.
always been evolving, that it makes you feel like who am I really, you know?
Yeah.
And I think I do that because I'm so afraid of sticking to one thing that I feel like I need to try it all. Like I always felt like I need to do my hair every color just so that one day I don't look back and regret never having done it pink.
Right.
You know? And that's why I did that. I did every fucking color under the sun, you know? And I did the piercings I wanted. I did whatever I wanted because I was like, I want to do it so that I don't look back and say like, I wish I had done it. But then
Okay.
the crazy thing is like, it seemed so big in that moment, but I wouldn't ever look back and be like, oh fuck, I didn't do my hair lavender. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like you overthink about like how much I'm gonna care about these decisions later.
Yeah. Interesting.
But it just fucks with me a little bit. And I'm always like, I always have in the back of my mind to like, you know what I think it is? I think it's knowing how easily I changed my life and had a completely different life by moving away. Knowing how easy it is to do that scares me because I know that like 1 month to the next, I could completely change my life. So it's like an active like effort to stay in this life. So it's like I'm always knowing like, okay, well, if tomorrow I would move here, like what would my life be? And like I always think about those things and it trips me out, you know, but I have to stop thinking about those things.
But like I feel like you always put yourself in a box. You're like, well, I have a job, like I can't have both. Like I think you also need to give yourself a little bit of like, if I really wanted to, I could have both. Like, I think you put it as
there's obviously
ways if you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. In a situation like where you're in, you could, if you really wanted to. It's not like one or the other.
I know, but it's just like sometimes it feels like.
But don't look at it that way.
Yeah. But I think it's just like scary knowing how many options there are. And I think that's like the epitome of like the society we're in now is like there's so many options. How do you choose? Yeah. And I think it's like either you do it or you accept where you are.
100%.
Those are the only two options.
100%. Because if you don't do it, you're going to be mad at yourself that you didn't do it. If you've accepted, it's because you're happy with what other things life is thrown at you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not a van girl. Definitely not a van girl. Holy shit. I mean, it would be fun to get like an RV and like do
I'm
the
not
whole
a van girl.
I'm not a van girl, but it would be fun to do a whole RV thing with like, you know, in a relationship and just like travel and like do it for a bit, even though it's not me.
Yeah.
After 1 week, this is the thing with me. I get bored really easily.
Yeah.
Like I love change, but I also like, I get too like antsy when I do something for like too long. Like anything I do, and I think it's like a problem because I have a hard time like appreciating where I'm at. It's hard to live in the moment when you're already like, what's next? So that's definitely something I have to work on.
Do you ever think like, what if my life was different? What if like...
No, I don't really dwell on those things. I don't know. Like, it's not something I'm like, yeah, I go, oh, fuck. Like, sometimes I wish I was born in the States. Like, that, yes.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't dwell on, like, what could my life be? The only person I could ever be mad about for that is myself.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
But I'm just curious, like, if you ever think about that or if you're ever like, I want to, like, try something different or do something different. Well, now you're saying like you want to try New York.
For sure. There's definitely things I want to do that are different, but I don't necessarily like...
I'm not like that right now. I'm just saying like my mind has always been like that. Like I'm always like I need to try everything so that I don't regret it. Like, I have like this...
No, I don't have that, but I do want to experience a lot. Yes. Yeah. But I think it's really more for me. Like I've always said it. I fucking love New York. I want to be there. I want to live there. And I'm like, Alea, like you don't even know yet. Why don't you go live there? Yeah. So like that's kind of like put yourself there type thing. So yeah. So I'm excited to do that. I wonder how that's gonna go.
But I wanted to say like just today we were talking about, and it was like funny that we both like came up with this at the same time. But like recently I was saying like, oh, like I want to change my style. Like I randomly got through this phase where. And I guess it's also comparing yourself to other people, like you were saying. But, like, you look at other people, you look at how they dress. And sometimes you're just, like, annoyed and you want to change.
I think I'm similar to you in the sense where, like, could I be two things, though? Like, can I be, like, a podcaster but also be, like, a stylist? Like, does that make sense? Yeah. But it's, like, everything makes sense.
Yeah.
Literally, you can be whatever you want to be. And, like, there's no rules to... what one person could do, but almost sometimes you put that limit on yourself where you're like, I don't know, like, can I be both things? Is it weird? You're like doing it and you're still like, is this, you know, like, is this it? Like, even with like my work, they're like, yeah, like they want to be styled by you. I'm like, why? Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I think I have good style and I love styling myself. And I'm like, wow, like people want me to style them? Like, oh, that's cool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's like, not that I don't have confidence, but it's like you almost put yourself in a box and sometimes you're like, sometimes I'm just like, I'm the baddest. Like I could do that 100%. And then others I'm like, really?
Like this is out of my lane kind of thing.
This is out of my lane. This is not really the path I saw myself going, but also have at the same time.
100%.
You know, like it's
it's with the podcast at the beginning. It's like, yeah, I get how this like makes sense, but I also didn't see myself doing this. So it's like, am I going to choose to do this? There's so many things in my life that I've done that I'm like, how can I, even just like sometimes it's like, we want to make funny content, but then we want to make serious content. It's like, can we be funny and serious at the same time?
100%.
It always feels like you need to choose one.
It always feels like you need to choose a box. Why?
you know?
Why can't we be everything? And I like same thing with like dressing, you know? There's one minute I want to dress like a hobo, another minute I want to be a tomboy, another I want to dress really slutty, another I want to be wholesome, I want to be chic. Like it seems like I don't know who I am, but it's like I think I'm just a version of every single part of it. 100%. So it's like, why do we have to choose? Like, what is your look? What is your style? You know? So I was telling Veronica, I'm like, I literally was like, my clothing is taking up too much energy in my life. I went through all my clothes and I did a wipeout like I've never in my life done. I was just like, I put myself in the state of like, you're going to New York at any point. I don't know when I'm going. You're going to New York. You're going to pack your luggage and there's so many things you have in here that you don't even want. Like you're never going to wear, you're never going to use. You're over it. So anything I just remotely even thought about for a second, I was like, maybe out. Like I didn't want to have to think. It's like, you know, when you have like your staple jeans that you love, that you're like, I'm never throwing those out. Any other piece I had in my wardrobe that I thought about that I was like, maybe I will probably use, out. Like I feel like sometimes even with like clothing and just having so much baggage, it like takes over your energy. So I was just like, I want to clean slate. I want to be fresh. I want to be able to know that I could just throw out these clothes and I'll be okay, and it's like not like I'm gonna miss them. Yeah. So like I just like threw out half my wardrobe and now it's like my closet is so like organized and there's not that many things, but like everything I have is like quality and like things that I see myself re-wearing and reusing. I was just like, oh, now what is my style these days? Like what do I want now? Yeah. Like who am I at this moment? Yeah. I need a revamp. So it was like first step, throw out fucking half my wardrobe and then figure out like, who do I want to be?
It's always fun, isn't it?
Always fun. So I was telling Veronica, like, I'm going for a different look now. But then it's like, I don't want to be limited also to going for that look and then can't go to my like sporty look too. You know, it's like, I want to be whatever my mood is that day.
It's just crazy. And again, I think it stems from like watching other people too. You know, lately I've been in this vibe where I'm just like tired of my clothes. Yeah. I feel like everything I have, it's like so slutty and it's just and it just felt like I was like, oh, like I don't feel good anymore. Like sometimes I'll put on these outfits that are so like chic and classy and I'm like, oh my God, I feel so good and I feel so sexy in these. Yeah. And I see other people dressing in a way where, I don't know, like I have some friends where they dress where they're just like, they're not constantly like trying to show off. Not saying that I try to show off my body, but like I always feel like what I need to wear, it needs to be like form fitting and it needs to be like flattering. Yeah. And like sometimes I see my friends wearing things that are not necessarily flattering. They're just like nice. And I'm like, wow, I wish I could pull that off because I feel like I always need to like flatter my body all the time. And I know this is going to come off weird, but like sometimes I'm just like, I want to just like dress like chic and cool and classy. And then I'm like,
Veronica's turning into a woman.
Into it. I know. I'm like, is this what happens when you get older? But then I like think about
Miami green dress.
Literally tits out, legs out, everything out. Crazy. But then I think about it and I'm like, but is that me though? And then it trips me out because
why
it's
do
like,
we have to choose?
I know, but I'm like, just like, I love that and I feel good. But then I also feel like I'm that like edgy girl and I could throw anything on and it's like, how do you find the happy middle?
The happy middle is you try the sporty chic that you've been craving. You don't know until you try. And that's kind of what we're saying here today with everything you do. Absolutely. You don't know.
And like I was even talking to my friend and she was like, you know, I just came back from Dubai and like I changed my whole wardrobe. She's like, I went and I fucking bought everything linen. I just want like this whole linen.
Oh my God.
Chill,
vibes.
Cool. And then she's like, you know what? I come back. She's like, I'm wearing this linen fucking clothes. She's like, it's not me. She's like, I have no personality. She goes, I put on these big hoop earrings because I just want to feel personality again. She's like, why do I have to be basic? Why do I have to be boring? I'm like, you know what? It's so funny because that's exactly what I'm going through right now. It's like this, like, I want to be muted. I want to be chic, but then I know my personality is so big and I love like dressing big and fun. Yeah. And I just want to find, I feel like I'm just in between styles right now. And I just want to find that happy medium where I'm like, I feel sexy and I feel like myself, you know? Yeah. But then I also feel like my new like existential crisis, which goes within this, is like I want to be like that feminine soft girl era. Like, why am I so loud? Why am I so this?
My God,
and I start like
through that.
nitpicking on myself. But then I'm like, okay, but it's me. And I'm like, if I start changing these things, I'm actually changing like the essence of who I am. Like I'm changing like for like me being loud. It's like people know me because I'm going to go and be loud and make people laugh and
guess
entertain.
what? The people who are like quiet and in their soft girl, they're like, I wish I could be Veronica.
You know what I mean? It's like everyone's always going to wish who they could like wish that they could be like what they're not. But it's just like lately I've just been like, ugh, like
I know.
I wish I could be that, like, you know, like I look at all these girls on like TikTok and Insta and they're just like soft girl era, like, so you really want to listen to them and you're like, wow, I wish I could be like you. And then I'm just like, I just don't think, like, I think I just need to accept that I'm not you and it's okay.
Be you, Veronica. Everybody else
me.
is taken.
Oh my God. Being you is the best that you could be.
Oh my God. I think it's just natural to feel that way though.
100%. But
I
you're just
think
like,
that's also like an episode and then you realize like you're that bitch again.
you know?
You know what I mean?
For sure.
Everything is like in waves.
It's always in waves. One
Yeah.
second I want to go get a turtleneck. The other one I'm like, give me the smallest bikini that you have at this establishment.
Exactly.
In neon pink.
But yeah, I'm in the same vibe as you, as like wanting to dress like classier. I was telling you, I'm like, everyone's seen, you know, the tight shit. Okay, like you have long legs, you have big boobs, like we've seen it, we're over it. And you know what the thing is what I realized? It's like I dress so many ways, but I feel like sometimes my Instagram portrays only one.
Yeah.
And so like I feel like when people like meet me or they're like, what is she gonna wear when she meets me type thing, you know? And it's like, oh my God, I have so many other styles. But like I always feel like I'm like putting, you know, like only one style, I guess.
I actually feel like I have no style on my Instagram.
I don't know. It's so
I feel like
weird.
I'm only
Like I feel
posting,
like I
like,
look
the-
at my Insta and I go, this is not even me. You know, it's weird. It's such a weird thing. And then like I get into this vibe of like only wanting to ever wear like baggy pants and like that was never me before. I always wanted to do like tight pants and show off like my legs, and now I'm like I'm into baggy pants. I don't care, like homeless look. I feel more confident in like baggier pants that don't show my legs, don't like, so it's like weird. You go through like episodes almost.
Every day I have an episode. And you know what I realize is I have these whole like, who am I? What's my style? And I realize I actually have no style because I work from home and I'm always in pajamas until I go out like once a week. And that's the only day I need to decide what my style is. So like, I actually don't think like I have a style. Like,
But why honestly, we do not have to choose. Like, fuck off.
I know, but it's like, I just want to find like that happy middle.
I don't think you'll ever find the happy middle. I think you'll always be switching.
I know. And you know what the crazy thing is I'm able, and I think this is like a good thing to recognize if like you feel this way, is I'm able to appreciate the different people and like their unique style. So like I'm able to look at like, for example, like a girl who's like so edgy, so hot, you know, like kind of provocative style. I'm like, oh my God, wow, she's amazing. She's gorgeous. I love it. I want to be like her. And then I'm able to also look at the girl who's like super classy and like a little more like chic and like very feminine. And I'm like, oh my God, I love this girl. She's amazing. Like, and I'm able to like appreciate each girl. And
then
think
you
it's
look
like,
at you and I'm like,
I look at me and I go,
like, who raised this one?
who's this barn animal? Like, it's like, but then you have to
like
really,
people see you and they're like, wow, I love her style. Like if she's throwing anything out of her wardrobe, please give it to me. You know, like it really just, it's just a POV point of view.
I think it's just we always want what we can't have. And like for me right now, it's the feminine chic girl, classy girl. Can't be classy. Can't be classy.
You know what's weird? My mom kind of dresses really like chic, and she's always like, Alessia, like you don't have to show so much. Like you should do more. And I was always like, Mom, like let me be myself. Like let me dress the way I want. And now I'm like, oh my God, am I finding myself like wanting to dress like my mother? Like
it's so funny you say that because I was
what
just
the fuck?
thinking. I'm
It's
like,
so weird.
You grow up and like everyone around you is always like, stop showing off. You don't need to do that much to be like.
and you're like, you feel
you're like,
defensive.
I feel good like this, and then like. I don't know. Recently, I find like I've been wearing things that are like a little more covered, but like I still feel really good and I feel really sexy in them. And I'm like, maybe this is what they meant.
Yeah, maybe this is what it's like when you're closer to 30.
Holy man.
You're just like this is who I am. Fucking take it or leave it.
Garage is like, stop shopping at our establishment. You're above the age that is allowed here. Thank God this girl could finally go to fucking Banana
my
Republic.
God. So I went on Zara and I just ordered like $2,000 worth of like Sophia Richie dupes.
That's someone who got taxes back. Not me, by the way, guys.
So actually, just side note, I figured everyone will like this story. So I have a friend in LA. He's one of my good guy friends, and that was like so sketch the way I said it. No, he's a guy friend, and his sister, she's actually the one who's styling Sophia Richie right now. And I just think it's so funny how like she's really like the it girl right now, and now like you're starting to see the curve of kind of like the Kardashians changing to that. And I don't want to say Kris Jenner reached out to her after she saw that Sophia Richie was getting fucking bombarded.
Yeah.
It's like, great, someone else is getting the attention. How do I get my girls on that same bandwagon? Like, God forbid we gave Sophia the time to be like the classy girl, you know? Like,
but you know what's funny? It's all a trickle down when it comes to trends. And I think the craziest thing is that it used to be like the supermodels and the celebrities that dictated the trends, but now it's actually like the people, it's actually social media. So like the trends start on social media and end up on the celebrities. So it's like that whole chic soft girl era, linens, that whole thing started from social media. And now we made Sophia Richie the it girl because she's fitting what's like so trendy right now. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
It's crazy how it used to be the opposite. It used to be like we looked at everyone and be like, oh my God, what are they wearing? Now we'll make that popular. But now it's the opposite. It's like we choose what we want to make popular and then
100%.
they follow along.
Yeah. So, yeah, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
It's just like whatever the trend is, I guess, right? But like I was looking at like Kylie's recent pics and like you see like she's still herself, still being like her sexy, seductive self, but like very Paris tamed, classy. So
and you know what the crazy is like the crazy
and we all
thing?
know Kylie is that girl who will do the tight dress and like, but she's also very edgy. So to see her in her soft girl era now, it's just like vibes.
But then it's like
she's like, everyone saw my ass, my tits, like everybody knows. Like so it's like to go from like BBLs to like Tinkerbell is just like you can be whoever you want, guys.
But like King Kylie will always be my favorite. So it's like
Kylie's your fave?
King Kylie, I mean. You know, like her King Kylie era when she was like
blue hair,
nails. Like,
really? You want to go to soft girl era?
No, I'm just saying like, it's just funny how like these people do like we said, you could do anything, but like you'll always look at the girl and be like, oh my God, I love your style. Like I love that vibe.
Yeah. I also feel like my style depends on who I'm around. When I was in Europe with the French guy who's very like classy and stuff, I found myself leaning towards things that were very like classy, and I was doing a lot less of like the me, you know.
But that's where
I
start
almost like adapt to where I'm going. Like I remember when I was going to London, I was like, okay, I'm changing my style to what is London, funky, crazy, like
that's what makes me trip. It's like sometimes you hang out with people and like it makes you change your style a little bit, and then you look at kind of like your usual style and you're like you open your luggage and you say, I hate every single one of this clothing. Like none of this is appropriate. Like I look like a $2 hooker beside you guys. And it's just crazy because then it makes you think like I've been dressing like this my whole life. Like I really need to ramp up my style. Or sometimes you go into one of your friends' closets and like you see all their stuff and you're like, whoa, I need to fix my closet. Like
it's weird.
I have no goodies.
Like,
it's crazy. And then like those same people probably look at your clothes and be like, oh my God, like I love your like outfits.
I know.
It's like you can never be happy. It's insane.
It's like, who are you?
I don't know who I am.
But then I honestly realized like I'm not putting into.
You didn't hear my joke. Eh?
What did you say?
I said I don't know who I am. I'm on birth control. Maybe that's the reason why I'm commitment phobe. Maybe I'll get off birth control. I'll be like, I love Montreal. This is where I want to stay forever.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
But you know what's crazy? I've always been like, I don't see myself here. I don't see this, whatever. And then I think about it. I know it's gonna be really deep to think about, but it's like sometimes I think about like, okay, let's say I'm having kids. Do I really want to be in a city where I don't have my family? And then I'm like, my whole plan, my whole life, everything that I've been working towards. And it's like, okay, I have kids now. What? I'm alone in like a city where I don't have my mom. I don't have my dad. I don't have like any support system.
I know.
And then you're like, whoa. Does that mean that I'm gonna raise kids in much? Like it's just like
I know.
As you like grow up, you just I don't know.
Yeah, I never saw myself having kids in like a big city. I've always kind of seen it in like the suburbs, but then again, like I've also really seen it the other way. So I don't know who I am.
I don't know who I am actually. Actually,
it's like even when I was talking to the guy who lived on a farm, I was like, I'm not a farm girl, but maybe I could be.
Like it's like
you know what I mean?
You look at everything and you go like, I mean, I'd look cute. With overalls.
Maybe. You know what I mean? It's like I feel like a lot of the times we like adapt who we are to like the people we're around, and I fucking detest and hate the people who still feel like they're the same person everywhere and they could just be the same person everywhere. They don't give a fuck what they're around. They don't change anything. That's bad bitch energy. But then it's also not me. Like it's boring. I'm like, I need change.
It's so true. Like I'm telling you, I could be anything. Like, you tell me any, like, Texas girl in the middle of nowhere, I'm like, ew, I would never. But then I'm like, but I could be.
Yeah.
But, like, I'd look cute in cowboy boots. So,
Yeah.
like, or, like, horse girl. I could be a horse girl. I could be anything. Why? Like, who am I?
I know.
I swear when you start thinking about these things, it trips you out. You're like, who am I? Who am I really? And I think the scariest thing is, especially when you're in a place like for you where you're single, it's like,
Veronica, I'm really going through
but
it.
it's
So
like
please, we can talk about it.
Let's just say, like, anybody that you date will dictate the way your life will go.
Veronica, 1000%.
Because it's like, you could date somebody, let's say in London. Boom, your whole life is different. Now you're fucking going to London every 2 weeks. Or you could date someone in Montreal, and now you're like, your like plans have changed in your mind. We're like, okay, like this is how I'm gonna live my life. Or you could date someone, like, it's just, there's so, or you could date someone that's like a fucking flight attendant, and now you're like,
yeah, you know what else is so crazy? I've always said, guys, you guys know I fly all the time. Like, if I'm interested in someone, or like, I've always been like, my husband is not Canadian. He's not in Montreal. Like, he's not. And here's a perfect example. It's like, I go out there, I'm dating, I meet people, and then I always still gravitate towards Canadians in the sense where, like, I go, wait, after dating so many people that were out of my city with different values, just like different upbringings, different like vibes, I still find myself gravitating towards Canadians. So I go, this whole time I keep saying and bashing Canadians, how like my man is not Canadian. And then I go, maybe he is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like this whole time I'm here like, he's not. It's not what I want. And then you get what you want.
and you're like,
And I'm like, I don't know. Like, there's something missing.
for sure.
It's weird.
It's fair though.
But like, you only know once you try, right?
Absolutely. I used to be the same way. Like, for example, when I was younger, I would always be like, oh my God, I'm never going to date somebody from like my hometown.
Yeah.
Like, that's never going to happen. And then my first boyfriend was actually somebody that I went to high school with. And we just like connected on a way that I feel like, obviously I can't have that connection with anyone else because we grew up together. We went to high school together. So like, we have a different connection than I'll have with anyone else.
Yeah.
And like, it's just like, there's something so special about that. And that's why I think you get roped into those things where there's like a familiarity that you don't have with other people.
Yeah.
So as much as you say like, oh no, like no, there's still some kind of like specialness to it, I feel like. So like, I think
But
that's
it's just
what, like,
funny
draws you
how
in.
it was like never in the cards for me. I was always like, and it's like, you can't put
Now you're like Saskatchewan?
now I'm like, I don't know. Maybe.
Could be.
I still don't think he's in Montreal. Like, let's calm down there. But like, look, you never know.
Toronto.
100%.
Oh no, I haven't heard of great things about Toronto men.
Really?
Yeah.
So what's the lesson here today?
The lesson is that
I don't know my style, but I also am apparently a stylist.
I think the lesson is when you have too many options, you'll always want something else. But like, just recognize what you have. And
Be grateful.
Be grateful for what you have. Recognize
while you're
what
working
you have.
towards what you want.
Absolutely. And know that you can have anything that you want, and just realize what it is that you want just because you can't have it and what you actually want.
Realize.
Doing a lot of realizing.
The grass ain't always greener on the other side. But my fucking grass is pretty green.
You're in Montreal. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening. It's 2 existential crises after the other here. So we'll come back next week.
Yeah, we're kind of losing ourselves, but we'll be back. Next week we'll be in fucking bikinis and we'll be like, this is who we are. But like,
next week I'm gonna be like, chic? Who? Next week I'm coming back with black hair. I'll be talking like a Russian accent.
every time I tell Veronica she looks good with brown hair, we get in an actual fight. So
You're
like,
sabotaging
we're
me.
gonna end this podcast before I say, well, you actually would look good with brown hair.
Sabotaging.
No.
Sabotaging.
She would get offended.
My
I was
friends
like,
don't
no,
want me to
you
be
look
pretty.
good blonde too, but like, I really like brown on you. It's like, no, you want me to be ugly. Blonde hair is the only thing
You
that
want me to
suits
be
me.
ugly. Yeah, you want me to be ugly. That's it. That's what it is. I would never let you sabotage me like that. Especially with my fresh blonde right now. Don't talk to me.
Oh no, your fresh blonde's pretty nice. Pretty nice.
I'm not nicer than brown, guys. My hair's nicer blonde, okay? Anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.